The 1930s were an age of ambition in aviation. The airplane was still fragile, loud, and limited in range, while across the skies of Europe, enormous silver giants drifted like floating cathedrals. Airships. To the public, they were miracles of engineering, vast, graceful machines that seemed to defy the earth itself. And among them, one name reigned supreme: Hindenburg. The LZ-129 Hindenburg, launched in March 1936, was the largest aircraft ever built. At over 245 meters long, longer than 4 Boeing 747s placed nose to tail, it was both a feat of German engineering and a tool of Nazi propaganda. Inside, its interiors rivaled luxury liners. Smoking rooms, promenades with windows looking down on the clouds, cabins furnished with polished wood, and a dining hall where silverware clinked gently as waiters served multi-course meals thousands of feet above the ground. For Germany's rulers, the Hindenburg was not only a marvel of technology but also a symbol of prestige. With the swastika emblazoned on its tail fins, it crossed the Atlantic in record time, offering passengers a serene, almost dreamlike voyage compared to the cramped, noisy airplanes of the day. In just its first year, it carried celebrities, politicians, and wealthy businessmen. By 1937, the Hindenburg was preparing for another season of transatlantic service. None suspected that within months it would become synonymous not with triumph, but with fiery catastrophe. On May 3, 1937, the Hindenburg departed Frankfurt for its first North Atlantic crossing of the season. There were 36 passengers and 61 crew aboard, fewer than capacity, since the airship had not yet regained full confidence of American passengers wary of the Nazi regime. Captain Max Pruss commanded the ship, with veteran airshipman Ernst Lehmann serving as flight director. The crossing was smooth. Passengers strolled the promenade decks, watching the endless Atlantic roll beneath them. Some wrote postcards which could be stamped aboard with the Zeppelin's own mail seal. At night, they gathered in the lounge where a piano, made of lightweight aluminum, played softly. Crewmen, disciplined and professional, managed the delicate task of keeping the hydrogen-filled giant balanced against winds. But the voyage was slowed by storms. As the ship neared the American coast, weather conditions forced delays. The Hindenburg was scheduled to land in Lakehurst, New Jersey, on May 6, but storms over the area postponed its docking. The passengers grew restless. They were already tired, some eager to reunite with families or catch connecting trains. Captain Pruss circled the coast, waiting for orders. At last, in the late afternoon, the weather cleared enough for landing. The giant airship turned inland toward Lakehurst. At the Naval Air Station, crowds gathered to watch the spectacle. Despite the delays, the Hindenburg's arrival was an event. News crews had assembled, including Herbert Morrison of Chicago radio station WLS, who prepared to record commentary for delayed broadcast. Photographers set up their cameras, ready to capture the ship's majestic docking. Families waved as the gleaming silver form appeared on the horizon. The Hindenburg approached gracefully, descending from the clouds, its engines humming. Witnesses marveled as the airship, longer than the Titanic, glided with apparent serenity. The docking was routine. The ship would lower lines, ground crew would secure it to a tall mast, and passengers would disembark. Few imagined danger. The Hindenburg had crossed the Atlantic safely many times before. At 7:21 p.m., the Hindenburg hovered over Lakehurst, beginning its landing maneuver. The ship released ballast water, drifting gently down. Ground crews grabbed the heavy ropes. On board, passengers lined the windows, eager for the moment of arrival. Then, at 7:25 p.m., it happened. Witnesses reported seeing a sudden flash near the rear of the ship, a burst of orange flame licking across the silver skin. In an instant, the hydrogen-filled giant transformed into a fireball. The Hindenburg's tail erupted in flame. The blaze raced forward along the ship's body, consuming it with terrifying speed. Passengers screamed. Some leapt from windows in desperate attempts to escape. Crew members scrambled to open emergency exits as the deck tilted sharply. From the ground, Herbert Morrison's voice captured the horror in real time. "It's burst into flames. It's crashing. Oh, the humanity. His desperate words, broadcast hours later, would sear themselves into history. The massive airship, once so graceful, collapsed in less than half a minute. Its metal skeleton twisted and groaned as flames devoured its skin. The entire ship sank to the ground in a fiery heap. The scene was apocalyptic. Flames shot high into the sky, visible for miles. The heat was unbearable, forcing rescue workers to shield their faces. Screams pierced the smoke. Passengers who had leapt to the ground were seen rolling in the grass, their clothes aflame. Crew members, some badly burned, staggered out of the wreckage. Yet amid the inferno, there were astonishing survivals. Of the 97 people aboard, 62 lived. Some were thrown clear of the collapsing structure. Others managed to escape through openings as the frame hit the ground. Passengers closest to the nose had precious seconds to run as fire engulfed the stern. One survivor later recalled, "The ship just dropped. I jumped. I don't remember hitting the ground, only running from the heat." Rescue crews, firefighters, and naval personnel rushed into the flames, pulling survivors out. For minutes, chaos reigned. Medics screaming for stretchers, men searching for friends and family in the smoking ruins. And then silence. The Hindenburg, once a gleaming giant, lay in a smoldering heap of twisted metal and blackened cloth. The disaster stunned the world. Newspapers carried photographs of the inferno across their front pages. Morrison's emotional broadcast replayed again and again, his voice breaking as he cried, "It is burning. Oh my, this is terrible." Investigations began immediately. How could the world's most advanced airship be destroyed so quickly? Theories abounded. Sabotage, lightning, static electricity igniting leaking hydrogen. The exact cause remains debated to this day, though the flammability of hydrogen made the catastrophe inevitable once fire began. For the airship industry, the disaster was fatal. The dream of transatlantic passenger travel aboard floating giants died in the flames of Lakehurst. Airplanes, though smaller and noisier, would soon surpass airships in speed, safety, and reliability. The Hindenburg became not a symbol of progress, but of hubris. Beyond aviation, the disaster carried symbolic weight. The Hindenburg had been a flagship of Nazi Germany, its swastikas flying boldly on its fins. In America, its fiery destruction was seen almost as an omen, a monstrous emblem of dictatorship consumed in its own fire. For many, it was a reminder of the fragility of human ambition, no matter how immense. Yet, it was also a story of human courage. Survivors who leapt into fire and lived, crew members who stayed at their posts until the last second, rescuers who braved flames to drag passengers free. Tragedy revealed both the worst and the best of human endurance. Today, the Hindenburg remains etched in collective memory. The haunting images of its fall, captured by newsreel cameras, are replayed whenever disasters are remembered. The disaster marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. The great airships, those floating palaces of the sky, vanished almost overnight. In their place, heavier-than-air machines rose to dominance. Within a decade, transatlantic airplanes were routine. What was once a 3-day Zeppelin voyage became a matter of hours. The Hindenburg's fiery descent thus became more than an accident. It was a turning point in human history, the moment when the dream of ruling the skies by floating giants died, and the age of the airplane truly began. On that spring evening in 1937, as smoke drifted over Lakehurst, reporters scribbled furiously, medics tended to the wounded, and the world's most luxurious airships smoldered to ash. One truth was clear. Human ambition soars high, but it can also fall in flames. The name Hindenburg would forever be remembered, not for its triumphs, but for the 34 seconds of horror that ended an era.